Nightmare hunts, raids, daily Mythic Zero dungeons, bountiful delves, and Mythic Plus on the horizon next week. The game is finally here. We have arrived. We can play. We can play the game. Finally! How cool are these things? Even though nothing is actually a new feature apart from the Nightmare Hunt. But these are the features people love. These are the features people play World of Warcraft for. The ones that are, and this has to be said, second to none in the MMO genre. I did all of these things this week, so let's check it out. First things first, the raids. Apart from the instant raids, Whitespire and Dreamrift, there is also a world boss, which is rotating weekly. Funnily enough, the night before the season actually started, they maybe most likely unintentionally, I don't know, released a world boss. I saw it by chance, and not only I showed up, but everyone. And I mean really everyone. It was a lag fest, I can tell you that. Really strange for me were the drops actually. On the first kill and the one the day after, I got some Warbound item, which would be cool if I had a shitload of hearts. But for a one character Andy like me, it was kinda frustrating, to be honest, seeing two weapons drop, neither of which I could actually use. But anyway. But back to the instance raid. Mostly out of curiosity, I applied for one of the split raids of the ongoing Race to World First event. Here, the competing guilds, in my case Echo Esports, gather as many helpers as they can to fill out the raid roster for the easier normal and heroic difficulty to maximize drops for their own roster. With helping them, you are forfeiting any rights to loot yourself. You actually have to install an add-on which automatically passes on items. But that doesn't mean you're just in there because you're a fanboy. You're getting compensated with gold, a quite substantial amount of gold actually, even for a normal mode run. But not only that, with killing the bosses and earning the kill achievements, you will have a much easier time joining groups on the following weeks. Also, killing the bosses unlocks the weekly vault rewards in the raid category, which is quite important if you aim to gather the tier set boni early on. So there are a few benefits for helping, even with the fact that you won't get any loot directly. The way Echo does it, and I guess Liquid and Method also, is that you first clear normal mode with them. With proper guidance from the guild members of Echo, this is almost but guaranteed. After that, the best performing players of several groups will be chosen to build a heroic group. Honestly, I was genuinely excited. It has been a long time since I've raided on retail, and even longer since my prime days back in Warlords of Draenor. But I still have this little teeny weeny urge to compete. Also, playing fights under proper guidance, it's such a different experience than the usual chaos of normal mode packs. I stacked up on consumes, enchanted a few items, at least the ones I could afford, and headed over to the raid. After clearing the trash while waiting for another split run to finish, the Echo Raiders joined our Discord call and the raid began. Honestly, I was so hyped. Of course, I wanted to be chosen for the heroic run afterwards, so I started concentrating, channeling all my inner focus into me and my character. And on the first boss, I died immediately. Because I was too dumb to get out of a circle. But here is the catch. I didn't just die once. I got a rest. And after about 2 seconds, I immediately died again. Yes, you can actually hear the bewildered disappointment in the raid leader's voice. God! Even looking at the footage now, it is so embarrassing, I can tell you. And looking at the VOD, it also shows you how I felt. That's the face of a man who knows he fucked up. Twice. The other bosses went fine, quite good actually. Even though I played different talents than I had in the previous dungeons, I managed to pull my weight, grabbing some quite good logs in the process. Also, I completely outperformed the other feral druid in the group. And when it was time to clean up the group, I actually was one of the few that managed to stay. Honestly, at this point I was so excited. This meant I could see the harder heroic version, which guaranteed some awesome vault rewards and bragging rights, as a heroic clear in the first ID outside of a raiding guild is not that and I got kicked. God damn it. Most likely due to my most memorable performance on the first boss, I was kicked out manually after the automated cleanup. It's what it is. I wasn't too mad about it, but yeah, it kinda stung. And it still does on it, honestly. But I got lucky. At the end of the week, my old raiding guild assembled another group for some alts, which I managed to get in. Playing with some old friends of mine was quite a cool experience. Even though we didn't clear and wiped a few times, I still had a really good time, and also seeing some heroic bosses was really cool. I still managed to unlock 2 out of the 3 raiding vault slots, which is again super cool for just playing as a casual without any fixed group. In general, for me, raids are simply the linchpin of World of Warcraft. Always have been, always will be. The fights are engaging, some challenging, and also visually spectacular. My personal favorite, even though it was the one I had failed so hard on, was the Godzilla imitation. Also with this sound, when he shoots out the beam and it actually is the Godzilla sound. It's so cool. I also really enjoy the fact that there are 2 different raid zones with completely different visual themes. Even though I feel like as a standalone encounter, Cimarron could have been a bit less repetitive and maybe some more phases. I wished for something like Onyxia there, but maybe that's just normal and heroic. All in all, I had a really good time with the raiding content on offer, so yeah, good job Blizzard. Another big feature of the World Soul saga are the delves. With the release of the season, you can now enter the so-called bountiful delves. With a key, you can open a chest at the end of the dungeon for big loot. These keys are forged from fragments, which you get basically everywhere. In addition to the 6 keys you can gather, there's actually a package that contains 200 fragments. Since I was already capped, it gave me 2 keys directly. I'm actually curious how this would work if you're not already at cap. Would it just add to your cap of 600 fragments, therefore limiting you to 6 keys instead of 8? Honestly, if somebody has an experience with that, please put it in the comment section below. I played some delves solo and some within a group. Funnily enough, delves were way harder within a 5-man stack. And I mean, it's not even close. I breezed through the solo ones, and with the 5-man, one end boss required more cooldown coordination than some Mythic Plus dungeons. And I'm not over exaggerating here. What I also really enjoyed was the seasonal hard mode only 1 boss delve. I did it in the lower difficulty, but I'm really excited to progress this fight. These solo challenges are very fun to me, even though it feels a bit punishing to just get slammed by auto hits with nothing I could really do about it. But that's fine. There is this solo content and this solo fight to progress, to get better and maybe outgear it. I hope not. I want to do it while it is still legit and it's still difficult. But again, having this personal goal, it's a good thing. I like personal goals in my games and personal achievements. Also new this week, we finally got access to the nightmare mode of the prey system, which is basically the same as before. I didn't really feel any difference to hard mode, apart from better loot. But it has to be said, I also gained quite a few eye level by now. So maybe with 10 item level less, it would be really a nightmare. But yeah, same thing as I said with the hard mode prey system. It's okay, it's a good system, it's something to do while being in the open world, but it's not this complete refresher and terrifying threat out there which you're scared about the whole time you're venturing into the open world. One big change this week was the removal of the weekly lockout to a daily one on the Mythic Zero dungeons. So you are now able to grind them every day. Personally, I don't get the weekly lockout on those anyway, which leads me to an already teased section from last video. If I get the chance, what would I change or add in WoW? Please note, this is highly subjective. With such a huge community, Blizzard does have a hard job of fitting everyone onto one table, especially with a community so bitchy and fragmented and opinionated about everything like the World of Warcraft one. There is no simple answer or solution. I'm not a game designer, nor do I have all the data. I'm just a player who wants to share his personal thoughts and dreams for a game he loves. And also, I want to try to provide some reasoning for my thoughts. First of all, I'm not a big fan of this whole gated content. I would completely overhaul this system. Part of the fun of playing an MMO is smashing into the content I enjoy with like-minded people without being restricted. Also, systems click into each other way better if they're actually all implemented. I had way more fun this week with world quests and events purely because I earned the key fragments required for the Bountiful Delves. In the previous weeks, I felt like I had to do them because it was basically the only way to get item upgrades. Having choice in an MMO is a good thing. Also, having content available before you're technically geared enough to enter is fun for some people. Me being one of those, because it leads to having a goal, a hurdle to overcome. I smashed the plus 11 delve with my 251 druid. Would I have done so with 20 eye level less in week 2? Most likely not, but I could still try. So I'd love to have Nightmare Hunts, Daily Mythic Zero, Bountiful Delves open and available at launch. Without them, the game didn't feel complete to me. And having all of this content now this week, I got a way better picture of the expansion and with it, more fun. I know that many people use these weeks of preparation for leveling a bunch of alts, but I'd rather like to see more focus put on playing and identifying with your main character. Secondly, speaking of leveling, as already mentioned, I would include some endgame systems into the leveling process and focus more on leveling through a combination of these systems and simple side quests. I don't like that when you get to max level, it feels like now the game is starting and having all of the systems just crash onto you. I feel like Blizzard should step away a little bit from this hand-holding approach and just letting people play the way they want to. Of course, they are proud of what they did with the world and also the story that they want to tell, but many people are in a rush to get to max level ASAP. So they will just skip cutscenes, not listen to dialogues, and just blast through the story, which you guys actually put a lot of time into developing. Maybe it would be best to put the campaign on max level, so people do it on their own terms after they capped and have more time, more space in their head, and are more open and focused to experience this content. As you can see, I'm a fan of front-loading content on my expansion releases. There is one part I'm uncertain about, and this is regarding raids being available on launch. Even though I would love to have this feeling back, as it was really fun for me during Cataclysm to get to max level, and the first 10 people in my guild that came to max level just had a look into the raid. But there is a reason Blizzard created this grace period, because people like myself back in the day pushed into a very degenerate lifestyle when it came to raiding. They wanted to level ASAP to be on this first 25 max level to guarantee a raid spot. On the other hand, with the 10 to 30 man flexible raids of today, there could be an argument that this would be more flexible now. But I can also see this leading to a lot of drama in the guilds and also to fear of missing out. Personally, I would love to have the feeling of a completely finished game with all its systems and content in place when stepping into this new world, ready to conquer it. The last thing I want to touch on is an idea I had while playing Burning Crusade. Speaking of content and especially raiding content, I would love to see the return of 10-man raids. But not as a general option between 10 or 20-man mythic raiding. Dedicated 10-man only raid zones. But before you go up in arms about this, hear me out. Having a 10-man option did lead to so many issues back in the day. I was there, and it wasn't just because of the 10 to 25 man discrepancy now being solved with only having 20 men, so it would only mean, oh, we could just halve the raid. No. Mythic raiding is built around the ability to field a certain number of specific classes. We have more than 10 classes in the game, balancing an equal level of challenge for a 10-man option without the possibility of having one iteration way harder or easier than the other. Would be a balancing nightmare, like it has been back in the day. Even now, after more than 10 years of them getting rid of this system, I can still remember the discussions of who has it harder. And even though I personally love to have a 10-man option because this would enable me and my friends to form a group without the need of 10 other people, I don't think it is generally in Blizzard's interest. But having a dedicated 10-man raid zone like Karazhan, or even a better example, Sulamman, could solve this issue. Everyone could benefit from this. These raids should not be developed with world-first level of progression in mind. Instead, it should provide players with a relaxed challenge. There could be a timed run for transmog or mounts, or an optional hard mode with, let's say, a stronger trinket option for the more invested hardcore raiders, or simply a catch-up raid for their alts. More casual groups could have a taste of mythic raiding progression without the need of fielding 20 people. Hardcore raiders could skip the 10-man completely, as the obtainable gear from the 20-man zones would be just a notch better than the ones from the 10-man raid. So their focus would be to get in there for collectibles and, wait for it, fun. Weird, I know, but I think in today's serious raiding world, having a more relaxed version purely for the fun of it could be an amazing opportunity. Not only for us players, but for the devs as well. I think everybody would benefit from such an option. The casuals, the pure Mythic Plus raid players, everybody outside an organized 20-man Mythic guild could have the option of Mythic raiding, closing the gap between the heroic difficulty items and the 20-man Mythic ones, with the latter being the superior ones. It has to be said. I think 20-man Mythic raid items should still be the highest achievable item level, apart from the weekly vault. If you wouldn't have already guessed it, yes, I am an PvE endgame focused player. Most of my viewpoints and opinions about this game evolve around my focus on this part of the game. But here's the bummer. And now this might be shocking for some folks out there, I know. But there are also people who are not into PvE endgame. And are still enjoying the game. What? And that's something I want to touch on now. On the endgame PvE side, Midnight did play into the already established strengths of WoW. New dungeons, new raids, new delves, a new way to earn items through hunts. Yes, there is not much change there, because it's a format that the people who engage in this system like and expect. So yes, Midnight did not reinvent the wheel in that department, but that's okay. I've seen this narrative that Midnight is the same old shit and therefore bad. But I think that's not true at all. There's a huge change in the philosophy of Blizzard. Midnight maybe didn't add a groundbreaking new system in the PvE department, but it added many changes catered to a very broad audience. Housing, goddammit! A feature I haven't touched because I'm not interested in it. But that's okay. Just because I'm not into it doesn't mean it's bad. And seeing what people have created with housing already is breathtaking. Midnight tries and succeeds in opening the game. Easier classes, the war on add-ons, easier mechanics. And what I mean with easier is not a bad thing or a dumbing down of the game. It just means that the game is more accessible to people that haven't been so invested into it. And that's a good thing. Honestly, when I returned to WoW, the first thing I did was check out Wowhead, loaded the latest add-ons, and went into doing whatever I wanted. But I had this knowledge. I had the knowledge of knowing where the resources are and what resources and add-ons I need. If you don't have this, it's crazy hard to get back into World of Warcraft. Maybe now people will check out a Mythic Plus dungeon without feeling the need to grab the latest weak aura or being scared that without hours of preparation and guides they will be flamed into oblivion by people who have played and evolved with these systems for the last 20 years. Or being afraid of learning a doctor's degree equivalent of boss mechanics for a weekly heroic raid. It's mind-boggling how complicated World of Warcraft got, and Midnight tries to fight this. Yes, they made mistakes, and most likely they will continue to make mistakes. But I think going forward into this new era of open gameplay and accessible gameplay, which, to be fair, was the thing that made World of Warcraft great in the first place, is a great change in design philosophy. So I'm curious where this will lead us and if more people will actually try out more and various aspects of the game. In my opinion, even though it maybe isn't as obvious at first glance as it could be, Midnight actually screams change and foremost accessibility. It tries to make the game accessible and every part of it to a much broader audience that has been ever before. For example, Mythic Plus is out for 1 day now, and I, having been in Mythic Plus for a long time now, have reached 2.5 rating in 1 day, like many other people have. And I've seen it everywhere. Many people are yelling, oh my god, it's so easy now, they ruined the system. But what they, in my opinion, actually did is opening the gates. One big criticism I always had with Mythic Plus is that it's a very hard swap between a +5 and a +10. And the +10 is the one that you should reach to get the maximum reward of the vault. So having this difficulty jump in between from completely trivial to I'm not able to finish this without proper knowledge of the game is too big of a steep. And now they designed it in a way that a plus 10 can be difficult, isn't for a very organized group, but for somebody stepping in, it's a challenge that they are able to overcome, which is so important. And in general, Mythic Plus is an upscaling system. If you want to have it harder, instead of doing a 10 or a 12 like the last seasons, try to do an 18 or a 20. You can do it. If you want the challenge, you can push yourself. But people who just want to try the system out are not burdened with this big wall in front of them. I think that's a good thing. And I feel like that's something Blizzard is trying on a big scale in Midnight. Personally, I believe that Midnight has lots of potential to make people engage in systems that they haven't engaged in before. Maybe I'll check out PvP. Maybe I'll check out housing. Maybe I'll check out the whole collection stuff. I don't know yet. There is so much content out there that you can do. And if you don't, it's basically your fault and your loss. Give it a shot. Try to play Midnight with fresh eyes. I will continue to play Midnight. Maybe not every day, maybe not every week. But that's fine. I can play the game as much and as little as I choose to do so. And that's a great thing and a great change. And I think we are heading in a very good direction. If I wanted to grind all the gear, all the content, all the quests, everything, every exploration, I could do that, which is a good thing now. As mentioned before, I would have loved to have the option for this right from the start. But that's a personal thing. I don't feel like pushing myself to a breaking point just to have a number in front of me. I'll take my time. I'll play the game. I'll enjoy the game. And if I don't enjoy the game, and if I don't feel like playing, I won't. And that's a good thing. For me, this series has come to an end now. I wanted to give my honest opinion and perspective as somebody who's focused on the PvE content from the start, from the expansion launch. And with now the season being open completely for everybody, this part of the game is finished for me. As I said, I will continue playing, and maybe in 3 months' time I will make a video of my journey with Midnight Season 1 as a reflection. I really enjoyed making these 3 videos now. Even though they are clunky, and yes, I don't have the production value of other channels, I still enjoyed doing them. I won't bore you with any please like and subscribe my videos bullshit. If you have anything to say, I would love to see a comment from you guys and what you feel about the game, about Midnight, about the systems, and also about my opinions. Maybe you say I'm a complete idiot and should stop talking. Fair, but tell me. I would love to hear from you. Until then, enjoy whichever game you play and however you like to play. So, nothing more for me to say. See you the next time. Until then, see ya.